I'm gonna ask you
Okay.
why you have good form muscle.
Hey,
Okay.
Where stand?
Ready? Don't worry. Let's start. You ready? So Bezrat Hashem, we're gonna maybe even finish the lesson tonight. Okay, but it's gonna take a lot of thought, a lot of thinking, a lot of heart, a lot of mind, putting your whole being into this one. Okay, so everybody pay attention. For those who have not been here for these classes yet, you're at the end of a lesson. I'm going to do my very best at the end to wrap the whole thing up. But if you don't understand, just pick up whatever you can for now. Very basic that you need to know is Purim is coming up. And Rabbi Nachman says that Purim is the key to nullifying all negativity in our individual lives and in our collective lives. And it's by merit of dancing. So the merit of dancing and singing and hand clapping that we're going to break all of the decrees. Okay? Now, who are the main players in Purim? On the good side, on the side of the superheroes, we have Mordechai and Esther. Mordechai and Esther. So now we're going to look at a very, very deep thing, which is a very puzzling chazal, a very puzzling statement of the sages. That is that after Haman was told that his reign was coming to an end, and Mordechai, the tzaddik, was going to become second to command, was going to become the viceroy and replace him, he decided to go visit Mordechai at the behest, at the encouragement of the king, and to let him know that my reign is up and your reign is coming up. And when he saw him, what do you think Mordechai was doing? Was he playing Xbox? PS5? They PS5 already? Oh my gosh. You know the Geula is coming. Okay. Was he scarfing down a holy schnitzel sandwich? No. Mordechai was teaching Torah. He was teaching Torah. And what specific sugya, what concept, what discussion was he speaking about? It was a korban, a type of sacrifice or offering that you make in the Beit HaMikdash. And the reason why he was teaching this is because the day in which he came was the 16th of Nisan. Everybody knows that the 15th of Nisan is Pesach, Gematria, Nachman, Geula, the mouth that speaks. What's the 16th? We give a korban that's called Omer. The Omer is the korban, sorim, of barley. Okay, we give it on the 16th, and then we continue to count 50 days of the Omer. Everybody know the mitzvah? You count for 50 days, the Omer, Sfirat Omer, very good. What is Sfirat Omer connected to? Sfirat Omer is connected to this actual korban of the giving over of barley. This concept is what Mordechai was teaching his students at the time that Haman came to him to tell him. No, that's the Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach is given on the 14th. The Korban of the Omer, which is a barley Korban, is given on the 16th. It's okay. Just don't talk anymore. Just because you have a beard doesn't mean you can just start speaking in the class. I also grew one out, so we're in the same. Okay. Zebechinat Omer, Sorim. Omer, what's the Omer? Zebechinat Mordechai. The concept of the Korban of the Omer is the concept of Mordechai. Why? Because the word Omer is actually a conjunction of two words, which is ayin and mar, or mer. We know that there are 11 spices in the Ketoret. One of them is myrrh. And there's many, many references in Shir HaShirim to this beautiful smelling spice of myrrh. And it just flows. And it's sweet. And in fact, in the Torah, it says that the mor, or the myrrh, has to be dror. Dror literally means freedom. But dror also means free of tuma, of impurities. Because this is what causes freedom. That is, when you extract yourself from all forces of negativity, you're free. So too, this spice itself is the living manifestation of freedom. It's more. So you have more, and then you have the beginning of more is an ayin. If you spell ayin mem resh, you have omer. What's the ayin have to do with anything? How many expressions, revelations of the Torah are there? 70. Don't worry about this. Don't worry. It's a Yetzirah clothed in a mitzvah. Come sit down. No. Don't worry.
What do you want from his life?
You know we do this every time. Okay, ready? Like this. There are 70 different revelations of the Torah, right? 70 expressions of the Torah. That's the gematria of which letter? Ayin. We said that Mordechai represents the revelation of the revealed part of the Torah, and that Esther represents the hidden part of the Torah. How many revealed expressions of Torah are there? 70. So the whole Omer is corresponding to Mordechai. Why? Because the name Mordechai, says Masechet Hulin, comes from more drawer. He is the living manifestation. He is that spice in the Keturah that's pure, that's free from all impurities. That he is the tzaddik yesod olam that flows from Eden. That he is a living manifestation of pure godliness. Mordechai. And he gives over the Torah, the Ayin. This is all Omer. Ayin more. By the way, very fascinating. Rav Kramer here, he says he always references the sources of what he says. This time he doesn't, which leads me to believe that this is his own chiddush. He says that the gematria of more, is the same gematria as Amalek, which is so fascinating. Because the entire issue here is between the tzaddik and Amalek, because Haman comes from Amalek. Not only that, we know that the first king of Israel, his name was Shaul HaMelech, or Saul. Yeah, better call Saul. Okay. Now Shaul, even though he was the first king of Israel, it was a little bit of a difficulty. Why? Because we know kingship is only to be held by the children of David. That is the tribe of Yehuda. Benjamin is where Shaul came from them. Now, what's the reason why, the inner, deeper reason why Shaul became the king of Israel, despite the fact that he was not from the tribe of Yehuda, at least temporarily as the first king of Israel? The reason is because Rabbi Nachman explained in this Torah that the inner soul function, capacity, which is unique within the tribe of Benjamin, which is why Rashi said that they're mighty warriors, is because they have chutzpah. They have tremendous chutzpah, but not chutzpah of the other side, not chutzpah of the ego. Chutzpah, which is called by Rabbi Nachman, holy chutzpah, or azut de kedusha. That is that instead of fighting in order to bolster my own ego or to assert my own self, I'm going to go fight to shatter the ego of society. This is all the function of Benjamin. Now, Shaul was very successful in this because he wiped out actually almost all of Amalek. But what ended up happening? He decided at the last moment not to follow through simply with what Hashem told him to. That is that he needs to wipe them out completely, which we know is a mitzvah in the Torah. What did he do instead? He left alive the king. His name was Agag. Agag. And as a result of this, he lost his kingship. By the way, this is a deep reason in what separates David or the tribe of Yehuda from Benjamin. The reason why Benjamin can't be the king and David has to be. Because Benjamin, despite his inclination for holy chutzpah, which you need to overcome all the enemies of Israel, he cannot do the simple thing that is to listen to Hashem, whatever he simply says. But he can go fight all the wars. But when there's a simple mitzvah in the Torah, he just can't keep it. Whereas the tribe of Yehuda has that same koach for fighting the enemies of Israel, but he's tamimus, he's simple. And he simply does what Hashem says, okay? Now we see though, where Shaul did not finish the job, that later on in this story of Purim, where does Chazal say that Mordechai comes from? The tribe of Benjamin. Mordechai is the tikkun for Shaul. And not only that, but his niece and / his wife, that is Esther, she also comes from Benjamin. That is that they are here to finish what Shaul did not do. Okay? Now, we know that the word Mordechai, we just said the more is referring to his kedusha, his purity, his sense of the veikut with Hashem that's so intense, and there's nothing else besides that. There's no extra fillers. You know, in foods nowadays, you have many fillers. They have to announce all of them. By Mordechai, there was nothing extra. It was what you see was what you got. More. It was pure more. Okay? Dror also. Dror means freedom.
that it was free of any impurities. Now, dror comes from the word cherut, lashon cherut, and we know that the way that the Torah was given was on luchot, stones. And the Torah says, how was it written on the stones? Charut. It was engraved. Charut, says the sages in Masechet Eruvin, al tikrei charut. Don't read that it was engraved. It says it was engraved, and it was, but don't read it like that. Ela cherut, read freedom. Meaning that what Hashem placed into those stones, into the heart of the Jewish people, was freedom. Freedom from psychological, emotional slavery. That you are now not a slave to the physical world because you have the Torah. That the Torah is the manifestation of my being. Because it says in the Zohar that the Torah and Hashem are one. Meaning he gave himself over to the Jewish people in the form of the Torah. And we know that Hashem is not a slave. Hashem is free. He's the epitome of freedom. So when we are attached to him by learning the Torah, by achieving oneness with the Torah, which is really in essence Hashem himself, condensed into a sefer, through that we also achieve freedom. Shubachinat Torah benigla. But this Torah that was given on the Luchot for the Jewish people at Har Sinai, this was not hidden Torah. This was revealed to them. And this is Mordechai, that he represents the revealed Torah. Like the Pasuk says, Ayin ba'ayin, we saw Hashem. Eye to eye. What do we say that the word Omer is? It is a conjunction of two words. That is, ayin, the eye, and more. So we're seeing here that Rabbi Nachman is trying to bring proof text to establish that Mordechai represents all facets of the revealed Torah. That he's the tzaddik who is bringing the revealed Torah down into the world. So that's Sa'or, that is the Omer. Now, what type of Omer, what type of Korban is this that Mordechai is representing? What is he manifesting in the world? Se'orim, that of barley. Zebechinat Esther. That barley is the concept of Esther. We know in the language of Kabbalah, there's 7 lower sfirot. Now we know as well that there are 7 fruits that are uniquely special in the land of Israel. It's taught in Kabbalah by the Arizal and other the famous Mekubalim, and this is why we have the Seder on Tu B'Shvat. That is that each of the different fruits of the land correspond to a different sphera. What sphera does barley correspond to? It's one of the 7 fruits of Israel. Gevura. Gevura. We know that Gevura represents the difficulties, the challenges, the suffering that each and every one of us goes through individually in our own personal life, and that the Jewish people go through collectively, and all of humanity is going through right now. These are all Gevura. Why? Because it's taught, and this is very, very deep, that the hidden Torah is hidden because it's hidden by suffering. That the suffering that we go through in our life, even though we think that it's a curse, the truth is that it's because we hold on to hidden Torah that we're suffering.
Also, the goal is to reveal everything that's hidden?
Yes.
So there shouldn't be any more hidden Torah?
So that Esther should be Megillat, revealed. That we know that Megillat Esther means revelation of Esther.
The revelation of something that was hidden.
Right. Megillah, the word for a sefer or the scroll, literally comes from the word Gilui. It means revelation. Esther means hidden, like it says in Masechet Chulin. The revelation of what's hidden is Megillat Esther. And by the way, and I say this over and over again, but it's such chizuk for our lives that we go through so much every day. That is that for the mitzvah to be fulfilled of Megillat Esther, of revealing that which is hidden and having a good story ending, is you have to go from beginning to end without stopping. Because if you stop in the middle of Megillat Esther, you're not yotze the mitzvah. Because you're not going to chap the whole thing. The show has to go on. You have to let the show go on. What we're going to learn a little bit in this Torah is that what causes a person to get stuck and not to be able to move on, which might seem like it's coming from the difficulties and challenges themselves that we're all facing, but it's really coming from the inability to achieve bitul. That I will not allow myself to feel the humility that's necessary to say that I don't understand and it's okay. And I can wait for the end of the movie. But instead, what ends up happening is because we are not connected in truth to Mordechai and Esther. We're not connected in truth to Moshe Rabbeinu. We don't have the patience to wait until the end to find the end of the story.
Because we have a remote that can fast forward to the ending. We feel like we're in control of our ending.
Rabbi Nachman says something very, very deep, that the mistakes of all the greatest people that exist in history, and he's not talking about Rishayim, he's not speaking about horrible people who have committed atrocities. We know that for sure. He's speaking about the tzaddikim that are in the Torah. He says, you see that the one element or ingredient which is present in every error in the Torah, on the part of the person who performed the error, who made the mistake, was a lack of patience. Whether it was Moshe Rabbeinu or Adam Rishon, whether it was Yaakov Avinu, whether it was Avraham Avinu, all of the greatest people, Aaron HaKohen, David HaMelech, everybody, their error came in the form of lack of patience. Why? Because patience, as Rabbi Nachman, comes from the high sphere of Keter. The Keter is not revealed yet. Only the Mashiach comes from the Keter. Only he's capable of being patient and teaching us to be patient. Because what is patience? Patience is the opposite of ego. Why can't I wait? Because I'm involved.
For the most part. I always wants now.
I needs now. The goof needs now. When you're hungry, you don't say, I'm hungry, I'm going to go get a meal in a week. Why not? No, because your goof wants it now. The whole essence of the ego is it wants now.
What do you draw the line between patience and what needs to happen?
It depends if you're Bukharian or not. There's a different line by you guys. Look at his face. I'm just kidding.
He's puzzled.
Look at him. No, because he's trying to integrate the teachings into his life. Hold the question. It's a good question. Okay? It's a good question. So now what ends up happening is that Esther represents the barley, meaning the dinim, the judgments in her life. She's not sweet like Mordechai. She's suffering. She's suffering through the judgments in life. However, because of her suffering, she doesn't have this nevuah like Mordechai. It's not clear to her what needs to be done, like Mordechai says, like Moshe says, go do this, go do that, go do this. Esther, though, had Ruach HaKodesh, just like David HaMelech. That in the place of judgments, in the place of the hiddenness of the revealed Torah of nevuah, you have a capacity for something else. That is called Ruach HaKodesh. That is you in your heart, what wells up inside of you, is the revelation of Hashem, but not by way of specifically being told what to do, but you feel it. But you can only feel it because you can't know it in the place of suffering. And where is this coming from? Kasirim alei deshe, that the pasuk says in Devarim, like the serim, which are the wind-blown rains upon the grass. What's wind-blown rains? Ruach. Ruach. And what do we say is the whole entire essence of Mordechai and Esther? What, so to speak, is the soul to Mordechai and Esther's body? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu. That he says, Rabbi Nachman, that he represents the Ruach Mamish. He is the Ruach that cannot be stopped. He is the tornado that destroys all yesh, that destroys all ego. And it manifests within Mordechai and Esther. That is the hands and the feet. That Mordechai is the hands. Esther is the feet. Reveals them because of this. Kishabah Haman la Mordechai. When Haman came to Mordechai, Matza'o Osek be'omes Urim. This is the reason why this was the sugya that Mordechai was teaching. Of Omer, meaning Mordechai, Sarim. Thank you much. That didn't make any English sense. That also didn't make any English sense. So, or Reem. Be'omes or Reem. You got it? Good. We had about, okay, good. The Omer Sarim, that we have the barley offering, the Korban of barley. That is that the Korban represents Mordechai and the barley represents Esther. Amar lehem. Then Haman said to Mordechai, Omer Sarim dirchu atei v'nitzach. The measure of your barley offering will one day come to defeat. This is what Haman said. Just like, okay, will one day come and defeat. Who will it come and defeat? He was referring to himself because he had just been told by the king, which we know as Achashverosh. But according to all of Chazal and the Hasidic and Kabbalistic masters, that whenever it speaks about the king without using Achashverosh, it's referring to Hashem himself. Meaning Hashem let the bad guy know your time is up. It's the time of the tzaddik to reign.
Bad guy himself knew that.
He comes to Mordechai and says that in the merit of Omer Sarim, this sugya in which you're teaching to them, will be defeated. Who? Rabbi Nachman says, Otov et Banav, him and his children.
It's like Paro and his astrologers. They
Oh,
said
very similar.
Moshe, that someone's going to come
That's right.
through and his downfall is going to be water.
Right. And Chazal say that Mordechai in his generation was mamish, like Moshe Rabbeinu in his generation.
And Paro's mamish Haman.
Right. Comes the Arizal to say, mamish, that Mordechai was Moshe. That he was the reincarnation, the Gilgul of Moshe Rabbeinu. That he was, right? Okay. So now it says like this. Because through this Omer Sarim, this barley offering, which is the concept of the hands and the feet. The concept of hand clapping and dancing. It nullifies ego. It nullifies investment in false realities, in false gods. That Haman was the epitome of this. Bechinat Geyut, the concept of arrogance, of ego. Everybody still with me?
I mean, it's not easy, Rabbi. A person.
Why are you
gets
saying this
depressed.
every class? You
No,
walk
I just-
in, you came a half an hour late, you sit down, you say, it's not easy being greasy, you know? Who knows?
It's not easy being a Baal Tshuva.
Just
Nothing
wait,
is
I know
easy.
it's not
A
easy.
person is.
You know, you make it harder on yourself by wearing a Yankees cap in public. Just wait a second, okay? Let's move on with the lesson. We have a lot to cover, and then we'll get to all your tainas, okay? It was real, Zan. Because of this, Siva Haman lasot eitz gavoa chamishim ama. That Haman wanted to hang Mordechai on a tree that was 50 amma tall. Ki ratza levata koach shel chamashim. That he wanted to nullify the koach of 50. Yom shel Sfirat HaOmer, which is how many days there were in Sfirat HaOmer, which was the revelation of the sugya of the Korban of Omer. Meaning the whole entire koach of nullifying Avodah Zarah is through the counting of the Sfirat HaOmer, which is what Mordechai was giving over. What is Sfirat HaOmer?
Preparation for a wedding.
Preparation for a wedding. And what are you doing every day? You're working on another faculty, which is difficult for you. Yeah, you're humbling yourself on every level of your reality. This kills Haman. This kills Haman. Shehu koach shel Mordechai ve'Esther, and that Mordechai and Esther together equal the power of Sfirat HaOmer. This is why the Mayan Achal, who's a commentary on Likutey Moharan, he says the fulfillment of the mitzvah of the Omer counting, as well as being crazy happy on Purim, they both do one thing. They cause the person who does so to merit receiving the Torah at both levels of the hidden and the revealed.
Oh, the Omer, if you miss one bracha, then it's
Dunsky's
done.
kaput.
Same thing with the Megillah. You miss one word,
Oh,
Dunsky's.
oh, very nice. Oh, we have another one as well. That is that Rabbi Nachman says that Purim is only a preparation for Pesach. Just like Sfirat HaOmer is only a preparation for Shavuos. And what is the preparation that you need for Matan Torah? To have a revelation of revealed godliness on Shavuot. Or that you need to have a revelation of the hidden godliness on Purim. Bittul. Nullification of ego.
When you cut the cookie, you still have the cookie.
Yes. Gedalia Benster coming in with the kill. That either you can get humbled by way of Moshe Rabbeinu or Mordechai and Esther, or you can simply continue to get humbled by life. But you have to get the Ruach. You can't stop the Ruach. The Ruach is coming. And this is where Mordechai and Esther drew their power, from the counting of the Omer. Okay? Now, we're going to get into the very end. I need you guys to put on your thinking caps and your big boy pants. And if you're a woman, You figure out what you need to do for yourself, okay?
They already have
I don't know what type of women you're hanging out with.
No.
You're wearing big boy pants, but
No, I'm saying they already have the thinking cap.
it's okay. It's okay. We'll tell your wife what happened afterwards. Don't worry. Okay. You guys ready? You guys love the Rabbi Baruch Hana stories. Oh, he's ready to go. He put the Yankee cap down. I like it. Okay, Yofi. Amar Rabbi Baruch Hana. Amar li hahutaya. I saw a Yishmaelite trader, merchant. Tab ach velach beluye de Korach. Come, I'm going to show you where Korach got swallowed up. I'm going to show you where Korach got swallowed up. So Rabbi Baruch Hana, a typical day for him, that he's moving along, going to the base medrash, gets out. The Muslim trader comes to him, says, hey, by the way, I know a very deep secret. I know where that person that you speak about, his name was Korach. I know where he was swallowed by the earth when he was in conflict with Moshe Rabbeinu. Come on, I'll show you.
Rabbeinu.
No questions yet. And don't Rabbeinu me, okay? Can you mute everybody, please? Take control of the situation over here, Gabriel. Let's go. You can't just wear tight short sleeves and think that's true. Azli, okay, good. Azli, come. Va'achazi trei bizei dahave. We saw two cracks. Nafik minayu kitra, from the ground. We saw two cracks in the ground, and from these two cracks was coming out smoke. You guys know all about this stuff, right? Shekal Gevava the Amra the Umashe Bamaya. He took, listen to this, it's about to take a curveball. You ready? He took a ball of cotton and he dipped it in water. The Anche Bereshe the Rumche. The Aile Hatam. And then what he did was he placed that ball of cotton, that ball of wool, which he dipped in water. He then took it and he placed it on top of his spear.
Basically made a Q-tip.
Yes, to wipe out the cletus. He made an ancient Q-tip. I'm just imagining Benny after this. He goes home and like his wife sees him. What are you doing? He's just like, you ever think about a Q-tip before? Oh my gosh. Steve Sugya. Okay. V'chia peak. And thus, he inserted it into those cracks. Okay, so everybody understand the whole story right now? Very, very simple stuff. Basic day in the life of Rabbi Baruch Hana. He goes, the Muslim trader says, hey, I know where Korach was buried in the earth. Great. Let me see. Wait, mincha's in a few minutes. Let me see if I can cut it. He goes along with him and he says, 1 second. And the Ishmaelite trader takes his staff, or his spear, I should say. And he takes a cotton ball, a gigantic cotton ball. And then he dips it in water and he sticks it on top of the spear. And then he plunged it into the two cracks where the smoke was coming from, where he claimed that Korach was. Daniel's like, I gotta move to Israel. I gotta get out of here. I don't have stuff like this happen to me in Queens. Okay. Oh, you guys are gonna love this. You ready? The Sephardim, you guys here? Ashkenazim, put on your fire suit. Sticks the staff into the place where the smoke is coming out. And all of a sudden, this ball, which is soaked in water, is lit up in fire. Wow.
The Q-tip was lit up in fire.
It's not really a Q-tip, and he just said it was. The spear with the cotton water ball was lit up on fire through the smoke that came from the place that Korach was buried. Marley. He said to me, Atzit, pay attention. Mashamait, what do you hear? Shimet dahave amrim. This is what I heard. Moshe, the Torah emet. Moshe is emet. Moshe is the truth, Korach was saying. And his Torah is the truth. This is what was being said. V'hein b'dayin. And the whole time we were sheker. It was all lies. Amarli. He then added a last piece to the story. He said to me, Kol shaloshim yoma, every 30 days, mahadra lahu geina. Every 30 days, Korach and his homies are returned to Gehenna. One second, which the Rashbam explains means Rosh Chodesh. Every Rosh Chodesh, they come back to Gehenna. Lachacha kavasa bakalachat. In order, like when you put meat on a pot and you saute it. Oh my gosh. Is this a Rabbi Kalman's class? This is a Rabbi still in the blank. Look at Daniel. He's getting excited over here. He's biting his lips. Okay. And he said thus. Moshe v'Torah emet v'heim b'dayin, and we're alive. That every Rosh Chodesh since he passed away, he comes, he takes his place on the plate, he gets up and he says, Moshe emet, and his Torah is true. Sheker.
Does it matter that people hear or not? He just says it just.
Only the person who listens can hear. Like the Yishmael trader came to him and told him, pay attention, because you can't just hear it.
But we got to go over there.
And we're going to learn in a moment that who is this Yishmael trader? It's Tzaddik. He's the one who gets you to hear that Moshe's emet and his Torah is emet. Before this, you can't hear that. So 1 second, we'll get there in a second. Anybody want to give me their peirush? Come on, this is the best part of the class. Not Benjamin, because he knows this Torah. He fell asleep last night to bedtime stories from his children. Yeah. Anybody want to give me their peirush? Avraham, you have a chokhmah dika type of mind. You think about it. Oria, tell me something besides your life is hard. Sensei, give me something. Can't just eat donuts over there and expect all the chokhmah to enter into the system, you know?
You can't be like me, Untitled.
What are you trying to figure out?
I like to hear the students what they think this story means, because the whole story is in reference to the Torah that we just spent the past few weeks learning.
How is the Israel?
So because it's very, very unique how Rabbi Nachman puts a very, very mysterious story from the Gemara that's not understandable. And he uses that to prove and to explain the entire essence of everything he's been saying, which already is difficult to understand.
This story actually happened though, right? In the Gemara?
Every Gemara is true.
No, I'm saying because there's some stories that Moharan says that could be theoretically happening.
No, even those stories are true. This is not the time for it.
No, I know, but I'm saying
yes,
it actually happened though.
This whole thing actually took place. This whole thing actually took place. When you go to Israel, you'll see bizarre stuff like this happen. 1 second. Before the question, do you have a peirush?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Where does the tzaddik come into place?
That's not a peirush. Do you have an explanation for the story that we learned so far, based on? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Go on. Tzaddik's gonna come up. It's a good question. Okay. I see Abraham's head breaking right now. Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. Let's hear what Rabbeinu says. You ready for Rabbeinu Akadosh? That he's gonna take the whole thing and just like crack it out of the park, like usual. Biluik de Korach. Korach was swallowed in this place. He says, come, I'm going to show you the place where he swallowed. The Ita Midrash. It says in Midrash Rabbah, and it also says in Yosham. Korach min haya. Korach was not what he appeared to be. Korach, despite the fact that he was a Levi, despite the fact that he came from a family in which that the Leviim were known for their emunah shlema, to the extent that they weren't even slaves when they were in Egypt, because their emunah was so intact. And they were not a part of the golden calf incident. And as a result of that, they took the concept of the Levi from the firstborns. They became the firstborns. And Korach comes from that same family. But Korach was a mean. Korach didn't really believe in Hashem, says Chazal. He worshipped himself. Minut. And what did Rabbi Nachman say? That ego is avodah zarah. One automatically leads to the other. We think that Amunah comes when you give somebody a proof in the Torah. Amunah doesn't come when you give somebody a proof in the Torah. Amunah comes when that person's ego is shattered. The only time that a person can believe in Hashem is when he stops thinking that he's God. Korach, as the result of the fact that he was invested only in where his place is, he couldn't believe in Hashem, says Chazal, and he didn't see that Moshe was the truth while he was alive. And it all became from one thing. Even though they said that Korach was a Talmid Chacham Mufla, he knew the whole entire Torah. How do you be a meme? Because the Torah can either be a spice of life or a spice of death. If a person is humble, either by way of merit or by life, or because of his intense desire for the truth, then the Torah is the Eitz Chaim for him.
Can I say it or sorry?
No, go ahead.
There's something to do with the fact that
Speak louder, because the people in the international audience, they want to hear you. Yeah.
He was
You didn't get any louder, you should know that.
okay. He rose to the cracks. There's smoke coming out.
Yeah.
Smoke referring to the fact that his incense, like the Torah.
Okay.
And the tzaddik is Mordechai, more usually represented by Ketoret, and
Okay.
through the Ketoret, we, I guess, merit, so to speak, this ruach that tells us the truth, which is that Moshe met,
Very nice.
met,
Very nice.
that he can bring us, so to speak, to that holy smoke.
Beautiful.
Am I on there, or am I just?
You're close, very close.
Definitely splendid.
That I will tell you, by the way, that one of the deeper reasons why I have my friends here, the students of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, make Perushim on the Torah is because Rabbi Nachman says to them, because it is a huge tikkun for the Brit. Because the mind is blemished from prior actions, and it's very difficult to heal from that place in the consciousness. Rabbi Nachman says, if you machadesh in my Torah, you will purify your mind like you went through a mikveh. So, kol kavod, you guys all had your chance. You missed up. You have to have holy chutzpah if you want to be holy. Rabbi Nachman says, Torah 22. You have to have holy chutzpah if you want to be holy. It's a prerequisite. Okay? So we see here something very interesting. Rabbi Nachman said that there's a flood of atheism which is going to come over the world. He said this in 1800s before that happened. Then we know that mamish happened. Okay? How did he know that? How can a person determine that people are going to stop believing in God?
When you're humble, you're not bound by time, so you can see the future.
Okay, good.
Or go to the past for whatever. You see the things that we have to go through.
There, for sure, he's able to see things in the future. But we're going to say even simpler than that. That is, that he saw that the ego of society was increasing. And automatically, when the ego increases, emunah decreases.
Whoa, that's a chiddush. So the more, for example, you're being, like in Egypt, we were being taught to work, right? Keep working. And then what happened? Work even harder for everything, meaning ego kept increasing. So at that point, we like hop like less of Hashem and more of Paro.
Beautiful.
Is that what was happening in this time?
Exactly. And to add to it, you see though, what happens to a Jew at the end of all of this is he can't bear his own ego. And the Jewish people themselves,
life breaks it for you.
Because his soul doesn't like that. Meaning his external self is chasing after X, Y, and Z, but his inner real self is mamish vomiting. Because it's not being fulfilled, it's not being felt whole, it's not connecting to something deeper. Yeah. So what ends up happening is that life, Paro, makes him feel enslaved until the point that he can't do anything else besides scream and cry. And he doesn't even know what's wrong. And when he screams and cries, all of a sudden somebody gives him a Breslov pamphlet. Serious? Yeah. And then he's like, oh, this is why I'm suffering.
So the wife represents secular wisdom or what? She was a secular wisdom.
Yeah.
She was a peach.
Okay. Now he says like this: I saw two cracks that were fuming out from the ground. Hainu bechinat aharon af. That this represents anger. Kamama chamnenu. I didn't say that. Kamama chamnenu zichronan libracha. You gotta have patience. You know, you can't get things done. Kol zaman. I'm so excited about the Torah. Kol zaman she'avodat elim ba'olam. All the time that there is investment in false realities. That person worship, that they believe in lies. Charon af ba'olam. Anger is in the world. Now, obviously, we know that the Midrash is speaking about the fact that Hashem's anger is in the world. But by the way, on a deeper psychological level, you should know that the same pshat applies. The same simple understanding applies. Whenever there is investment in ego or belief in people, places, and things, there's charon af, meaning that person experiences anger. Because where does anger come from? Ego. Yesh. Belief in a false reality that things need to be a certain way. Says who? Says you. Comes anger. I just love seeing your faces. This whole thing is going through. It's so great. This is
The ikr of suffering, the ikr of anger, the ikr of any negative bechina comes from this thing called ego, which is also.
yes.
Yeah, because when there's ego, Hashem is not there.
Hashem told Korach it was 250 followers to come with Moshe and everyone together.
Yeah.
And they all had to bring pans and make a
Ketoret.
And the tzaddik is the ketoret.
That's right.
The smoke reveals the truth.
Oh.
Because after they did it, the truth was revealed that they were wrong, and then they were swallowed.
Yeah. Also, the thing with smoke is smoke before it's actually there's hidden,
Right.
and when you light something, it's now revealing what is hidden.
Oh, very good.
The whole concept of the ketoret.
This is the best.
A pleasant
Yeah,
fragrance.
aroma. An aroma is something
That it
that's
smells.
hidden.
It's a concept of the nose, smelling, which is to feel it. I don't know.
By the way, you guys should know this is 3 years worth
Which makes Emunah, no?
of toiling in Rebbe Nachman's Torah. Is that the Shem? One day you guys are all just gonna be launching out of your clothes with perushim and chidushim and licking up.
Wait, didn't you say that if a person smells, that means it connects to his mouth, which is Emunah?
Very good.
So when he speaks, he creates more tefillah coming out of his mouth.
Beautiful, beautiful. Also connected to the nose. Very good. Doing good. Okay, now you're in the game also, as I say to my kids. Now you're in the game. You're in the game. Daniel, want to say something? Okay, these two cracks, what are they? The two holes of your nose. That this is where smoke comes out of. Like the pasuk says in Tehillim. Yudchet. Smoke went up out of his nostrils, meaning anger. And what do we say is the opposite of anger?
Love.
No.
Ahava.
Patience.
That is also a synonym for love.
Happiness.
Happiness. Very good. But what did we just say anger is?
Ego. So the opposite
Ego.
of
Who's the
humility.
opposite of eager?
Moshe.
Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu.
You know, there's this thing where you say, "Oh, he knows it all. He knows his ego." Oh, I thought it. It's been there all my life. I just hopped.
That's why the Jews are big. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm serious.
You didn't say it. Okay.
He knows
So who are these two cracks? It's the nostrils. The smoke is coming out, meaning it is the revelation of the ego is now being shown for what it truly is. It's a sheker, it's a lie. And how did this all happen? Because he took a ball of omra. He took what? Zebechinat omer, meaning he took the omer. What was the omer we said? The omer is ayin mar. Ayin represents the 70 faces of the Torah. Revealed Torah. Mar is myrrh, the spice, which Mordechai is compared to in Masechet Chulin, meaning that Mordechai is the Omer. What was this ball of wool that was placed down? It was Mordechai. By placing Mordechai down into the place of ego, it lit up on fire. Okay. Now, by the way, just on a side note, something that Hashem placed into my mind based on my learning right now in Likutey Halachot, that is that Rav Natan Zal brings down from Rabbeinu that tzitzit, they're made from what?
Wool.
From wool. To the extent that Rav Natan says that tzitzit are the manifestation of the keter. Why? Because they're made of wool, and we know that when Daniel had his vision of Hashem, he saw a long flowing white beard, that of wool, like wool, it says, okay, which is the keter, the crown, which is totally pure. So Mordechai was like the living manifestation of that. He is this ball of wool, which is pure, brought down the hairs of the beard.
Was Korah the representation of ego?
Yes.
So I feel like when he brought down the spear, which was the steam, he unclogged the
ego,
the hidden, right?
Very good. No, it's very good. Okay. He washed that wool, meaning Mordechai, in water. What's this water? Zebechinat sorim. This is the concept of barley. What's the connection between barley and water? Bechinat Esther, Baruch HaKodesh. That Esther in this case represents water. It represents Ruach HaKodesh. Why? Shehu bechinat raglayim. Because she's the concept of the feet. What does feet have to do with the water? Ki raglayim hem afike mayim. Because feet are taking place in the brooks of the water. Okay? So now just listen for a second to understand what Rabbi Nachman means. This is a deep piece of Torah. Ki hem bechinat arvei nachal. Because they represent the willows of the brook. We know that on Sukkot, you have different mitzvot that you have to fulfill, and the Arizal teaches that each of the different species represent different parts of the body, or deeper than that, the Sfirot. Which one represents the Netzach and Hod, which in Kabbalah are the feet? That is the Aravot. Okay, the Aravot. Now he's saying like this, that it says in Masechet Sukkah, Ragalohi davar nash inun arvinle. A person's feet are his arvin, are his guarantors. What he's doing is he's taking the Aramaic word and he's flipping it to Hebrew, and he's saying it's a different meaning, which is that the simple meaning is that when a person's feet are steady, they guarantee his continued existence. When a person does not have stable footing, then he's always vulnerable to be hurt. So his feet are his guarantors, just like when you get an apartment. And you're like everyone in my class, including myself, that we don't have enough money to afford on our own. So what do we need? We need a guarantor to sign off, co-signers. Those are your feet. Your feet are your co-signers. Okay? But he says like this, what's the word for feet or guarantors in Aramaic? Arvin comes from the word arvei nachal. That is the brooks of the willow. The willow of the brooks. The brooks of the willow. Afike mayim. That is these streams of water. Mordechai Esther. Okay, this part is very deep. It's based on Zohar. That, so to speak, Netzach and Hod. These are representing the feet. This is the revelation of Esther. Whereas the hands, which are Chesed and Gevurah, they're representative of Mordechai. But simply put, that Esther in this case represents the extension of the water. That it's flowing out. It's being revealed. That from the Nachal, Novei Mekor Chochma, comes out Esther, comes out David Malka Mashiach. That is the feet, the extension of the river that flows out. This, the wool in water, alludes to Mordechai and Esther, meaning hand clapping and feet dancing. Okay. By the way, I'll tell you in a second, actually. So now everybody understands what's going on. This Yishmaelite trader, meaning this tzaddik, we're going to call him Moshe Rabbeinu. He's taking this staff, this stick, he's placing on top of the staff, which we're going to see what the staff represents in a second, a ball of wool, meaning Mordechai, one of his shliachs, his hands. And he's dipping it in water, meaning he's saturating it in Esther, hidden Torah. sticking it down where Korach, the ego, has been buried. And there the smoke is lighting it up, that it lights up on fire. What's this romach? What's this spear? The ruach mem, that it says in the Zohar that romach, the spear, which Pinchas had as well, which is mentioned many times, is two words together, that is ruach mem. Romach, ruach mem. That what did we say is the essence of Moshe? He's the ruach. What's the mem? Gematria 40. Moshe, mikvah, 40 sayah. Ruach mem, Moshe. He's the romach. He's the spear. Shehu me'arba ruchot boya ruach. That all ruach of kedusha comes from him. All of the ruach in the world that knocks out negativity, that knocks out suffering, that knocks out ego, they all come and derive from Moshe Rabbeinu.
So the ruach inside of us is the motion. inside of us?
Yes, exactly.
So that's what it means that Mashiach is going to come down again and redeem us. Everybody has a piece of Mashiach inside of it.
Oh,
Meaning
this
that
is, yeah. Good, go. No, you go.
meaning that we could be our personal Mashiach.
Yes, exactly. We need to be. That personal Mashiach is the Moshe inside of you, meaning that your ruach of godliness is going to ignite.
I understand what
That
it
is the
means.
ruach of ayin, nothingness.
I understand what it means.
And your yesh is going to be burnt up by your ruach of Mashiach, meaning your yesh, your ego, is going to be nullified.
That's exactly what it means to connect to Moshe. There's a motion inside of you. When you connect to that part of you, that's called the non-ego part. You're called attached to Moshe.
That's right.
And when the whole collective world is getting rid of ego, that's called
To make it with the tzaddik.
right.
And this is the whole chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov. That how do we get to the point that we connect to the Moshe inside of us?
But to link to Moshe.
To Moshe. By finding the Moshe of the generation, that he's the living manifestation of the humble part of every Jew. And through our hikashrut with that person, then we find that part of us, which is what the Jewish people did in Mitzrayim.
Right, they had a Moshe.
They had a Moshe, and
And
through
he
the ones
taught
that they were
everybody
connected to
how to do
Moshe, they found the Moshe inside of them.
That's right.
And by the way, finding the Moshe inside of them automatically leads you to find Hashem. And this is why Moshe, if you flip the letters backwards, is Hashem. Because when you find Moshe, meaning when you find humility, the most humble man in the world, you will find God. Yourself, your real self.
And your real self is Hashem.
And your real self is Hashem. And he is doing a math equation like the geniuses in the movies, where the x plus EY squared equals. But he's doing it with sources in Tehillim. Yeah, go ahead.
You said something about the Arvot,
Yes,
Netzach and Hod.
yes.
Is there a connection? Because in the Sfirot, Netzach and Hod are connected by a man.
Oh, yeah, when you did your research and you came up with your
that I
condition.
still
Also,
remember.
Netzach knows Moshe and Ar, which is a.
Is that-
Also, this Netzach and Hod, when they manifest in the face, they're your lips.
Also.
Meaning to say that the Netzach and Hod, when is that unleashed? It's only unleashed through Moshe. When can a person speak truth? Only through humility. Only when he dips in the mikveh of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay. Now, he removed it. Oh, what happens then? Then it blows on fire, meaning you're able to start clapping and dancing.
The desire and the fire of your heart is now manifested outside of itself. So the natural response to that would be clapping.
Very good, because you were in exile before that. Your heart was broken.
Laughter was.
What happens when you connect to Moshe? Then automatically this ruach inside of a Jew's heart explodes out into his hands and feet, and he starts clapping and dancing.
If you connect to the opposite side of it, the automatic response would be anger and flaring
That's-
and the smoke that's coming out.
Very
so you can either
good.
attach yourself to the smoke that's coming out or from the water bowl that's on fire.
That's
you
right.
choose.
Right.
It's connected to the song. Song that burst forth. Because all of a sudden you just get fire. Certain things. It sounds a lot like every song that burst forth. Because whenever there's a new song, everyone, it just bursts forth, like automatically everyone just sings it in unison.
It's very interesting. You know why? Because we know that Mashiach is the manifestation of this last sphere of Malchut. And Malchut's whole essence is bittul, nothing. So what is the new song going to be? We're nothing, we're nothing, we're nothing. You excited?
Or maybe that's
can't
the
what?
song. Maybe just
That's the song.
The clapping and singing is the song.
But that's the whole point. The point is like this. Why is this song going to burst forth? Because for the first time in history, someone will come along, and not only will we not be anti it, we are going to be so excited to hear that we're not God.
Thank God.
We're going to be so excited to hear that we don't control the world. We're going to be so happy to hear that we are actually part of one beautiful cosmic whole. And we don't have to be the center of all of it. We can just be a part of one beautiful symphony, and that's so much sweeter. But it's only the koach of David HaMelech, of the Mashiach, that he's capable of having people hear that and be like, I'm on board, I want to do it. Humble me up, let's go. Yeah. Other people is going to be threatened. Like Rabbi Nachman said, the only difference between me and Mashiach is that nobody listens to me, but everybody's going to listen to David. Everybody's going to listen to Mashiach. Why? Oh. But they can hear it from David. They can't hear it from me. It's too much.
Can't hear from you.
Because Moshiach is simple.
Because Mashiach is simple.
Simplicity is key to success.
Because he's humble. Because he's about tshuva.
But isn't Rabbeinu also simple?
The act of Baal
Yes.
Teshuva in itself.
So
is
why?
We're going to see in a second. I actually have a whole chiddush on this in 1 second. Let's
Why-
finish this one
why
part. I
couldn't-
know you're excited, but you have to wait. Hold it. Patience. Savlanis. Put it into your brain. You have a nice one. Just hold it there for a second. Rosh haromach hu tzaddik. The head of the romach, the head of this spear is the tzaddik. Ki mimenu totzaot haruach, because that's where ruach comes out from. Kamoshe katuv. Like when Hashem told Moshe, you're not going to take the Jewish people to the land of Israel. And what was Moshe's only concern? That you replace him with a leader who has ruach. Ruach. I don't care what you replace me with, but it has to be someone with ruach. The ruach Elokim that's hovering over the waters, hovering over the mem, hovering over the 40 say of the mikveh. He needs to have ruach. Now, I was thinking to myself, Mordechai and Esther. We know that, so to speak, there's two Mashiachs. There is the right foot and the left foot, according to Kabbalah. There's Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. There is a Mordechai and there's an Esther. Okay. Now, interestingly, Lubavitcher Rebbe says if we merit it, it'll be one person. What is a teaching that we've discussed in the past?
being one person.
That Mashiach will be the soul of Moshe and the body of David. Or in this case, a Purim, that it is the soul of Mordechai and the body of Esther. Now, why is that important? Or why is that connected? We're going to get there in a little bit. But one thing which you should come out with, which is something beautiful that Rabbi Moshe Kramer says here, that is that Yadayim v'Raglayim, hands and feet, is the same numerical value as Simcha. 353. So why do I have this whole Chiddush? Because you're 5 short of Mashiach. That Simcha, right? We know that the Gematria Mashiach is Yismach. He will make happy. His whole essence is Simcha. Meaning, what is the Mashiach really going to be doing? He's going to get us to connect to Hashem besimcha. He's going to get us when we do the mitzvot. It won't be with yesh. It won't be with ego. It won't be with a lower self. The ruach will be unleashed in the world. The fire of the Jewish heart will burn. The fire will burn. And we will do the mitzvot besimcha, with our hands and our feet, with dancing and hand clapping.
We need that nowadays.
You know where you can see a little bit of this?
Israel, Tzfat.
Uman.
Uman, Uman, Oshashana, Uman, Uman, Oshashana, Uman, Uman, Oshashana. I'm Mamish, when I went there, my first impression was, this has to be what Gu'u is going to be like. Just not in a little street in Ukraine, but like in the whole world. It's got to be this global. that's how the whole, like, I have to come back and I have to do something with you guys and start some type of something. Because it's there. Whatever's going on there on Rosh Hashanah is Mamash Gilui. It's the hands and feet. Serving the simcha. And who are the ones who are doing it over there? Could have been many former Korachs, me included. A lot of former Korachs. But the tzaddik takes them by the hand and we say Moshe Emet and his Torah is Emet. I'm so happy. It's okay. It's good. Okay. We'll finish the last part here.
I mean, Rabbi, we have all night.
We don't have all night.
Do you want to answer questions?
We have questions. You know what? Let me ask you guys a question before you get to questions. Thursday night, we have to do this thing.
Ellie Singer thing?
Yeah.
I think it's good.
The what thing?
Ellie Singer got married, so we're doing Shabbat in Simcha Palace.
Are you guys open? Are you guys open and up for?
Who is this?
1 second. One of our students. You guys got married last night. Hashem. Ellie Singer.
Oh wait, the
The
guy who's here, the
Yes.
oh nice.
Yeah. So his Sheva Bracha is tomorrow, and I think we're invited. So how about this? We have a special opportunity because usually my family is around. They're actually not here tomorrow. If you guys are down for this, I really want to finish this tour before Purim. Are you guys open to meeting up again tomorrow night and finishing this lesson? Yeah, we can do it.
Oh, it's Wednesday tomorrow?
Yeah.
I might
You,
say.
yeah. Okay. Is everybody else able to?
But we're here.
Whatever. I don't care. We can do it in my house.
I like house. We'll sing and dance. Get the police involved.
Are you guys open? Yes, you can do it. I want to know. You do it? You can do it. You want to finish the lesson? You want to finish what you started before Purim tomorrow night? Okay, good. So now we can take questions and Bezrat Hashem will finish it tomorrow. Any questions? Wait, before Rabbeinu. Anybody on the World Wide Web who also has a question? Anybody?
Someone asked, hi Rabbi, can you re-explain how the hands nullify ego?
Oh, very good. So we learned earlier in this Torah that what is it that caused the hands to clap as opposed to work?
Freeing your mind, freeing yourself.
It is that the heart is unleashed. That is, when there's simcha in the heart, it extends down to the hands and feet. That the hands and the feet are a product of what's going on in the heart. If the heart is not happy, my hands are close, tied in, my feet are also tied in. But if I'm happy, then that also goes into my hands and feet, and they go out. But
If you're happy,
and you know it, clap your hands, dance. Okay.
why do you think it's in that?
Why do you think his name was Dr. Susenberg? He was Jewish. Sustin. Okay. Yeah, he was a doctor. Okay. So the hands, why do they represent the nullification of ego? Because the rectification of the hands is tefillah. Right? The rectification of the hands is also revealed Torah in this case, the lesson that we're learning. But you can only have Torah when you're humble. That's the reason why when we went to Har Sinai, before we went to Har Sinai, we went to a place that was called trampling, matana. In that place that we get this gift, that is that when we're trampled, meaning you allow yourself to be trampled, so to speak, by society, by those around you, and you do not assert your ego, then you become a vessel for receiving the Torah at Har Sinai, which is called the mountain, which is Sinai, which is hated. Because it's hated, you receive Hashem there. But when you resist, you go on one of the other bigger mountains, and the Torah is not being given over there.
It was written in Pirkei Avos, so Nachman's commentary on Pirkei Avos, from us brings down that whenever you learn Torah, right, it says you should make your house like a dwelling place for
Talmidei
Torah,
Chachamim.
right? And it says you have to sit by the dust of their feet.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you can only chab their Torah when your mamish like dust on their feet?
That's very, very good.
How can you, Muhammad, feel like that?
How do you feel like that? By butling yourself to do what the tzaddik says to do.
That means go outside.
That means go and do an hour of Yibodah, do it even though I don't feel like it. That means learn Torah b'koach even when I don't want to. All of these things. Yeah.
Is that anytime I have an urge not to learn?
Anytime that you have an urge not to do what the Rabbi Nachman says to do, and you do it anyway, that's called bittul.
Next question.
Rabbi,
Yes.
you talked about I think it was from the share last week about the 4 type of Jews. You said the Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam. The 4th one, you didn't say it. What was the 4th one?
Oh, I didn't bring up the 4 right now, but they are the wise one, the Rasha, the simple one, and the one who doesn't know how to ask. Okay. They also represent the 4 aspects of every person. We need to bring them all together at one table. Pesach. Right?
Rabbeinu,
What?
in order for a person to have emunah, he's supposed to be high in humility.
Yes. How do you get that, David?
By emunah.
How do you get Amunah? Pickles.
No.
Bitul.
Bitul.
He kasher to the tzaddik. This is
Yes.
why the Nachman says that the Geula comes b'schut bitul and he kashrut with true tzaddikim.
Be cool and be cool.
Wow. Bitul.
I was at a crazy to find a painter, and they should paint every single Torah, the whole Torah in one painting. Torah 1, Torah 2, Torah 3, and then caption it.
Yeah.
Likutey Moharan.
No, you're good. Any other questions online here? Okay, guys, everybody have a great night tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
Rabbeinu.
No. We gotta finish up.
Okay, but one thing I need to say is that not only Korach has ego, but he was also jealous.
That's right. They go together. Thank you, David. Okay, we'll see you guys tomorrow. You know how to end it. Yes.